Hello, I'm Cavassier the goddamn Newt. Conor McGregor was back in New York City court for the first time since an April 6th arraignment on a dozen charges stemming from the Barclays Center bus melee. This one lasted about a New York minute, just long enough to show his face to the court and get more time to finalize a plea deal. It may have been quick, but there's a lot to learn from the things we can see. We'll analyze Conor's behavior in the courtroom and break down his statement to the media. We'll also look at McGregor's arraignment for insights about his motivation behind the bus melee and what comes next. This is what they call a perp walk. Typically, people try to hide their faces from the media. Not McGregor. His chest is puffed and his chin is up. At the time, the usual gaggle bleated his posture proved he wasn't nearly sorry enough about his problematic behavior. It's fair to call McGregor's posture arrogant. This is an exaggerated belief in one's abilities. He's not asking for pity with his body language. Conor McGregor is facing the reality of his situation directly. His bearing reflects this rather than the broken posture of a man bereft of actionable principles or looking for a loophole.
20 Vesey Street, Suite 210, New York, New York 10007, on behalf of Mr. Cowley.
Good afternoon.
Consider the difference between McGregor and his buddy and co-accused Sean Cowley. Cowley is very much centered in his own emotional experience. His posture is bent and his shoulders stooped.
And Judge, there are two dockets. People are starting the docket ending 1-2.
What was this on?
Conor says something to the gallery that puts a look of concern across his face.
What was this on?
As Conor turns back, he catches his breath and holds it. We see his concern in his raised eyebrows and crinkled forehead. His mouth hangs open a little as he looks ahead, seemingly lost in a specific thought. After a pause, Conor goes through an array of gestures to right himself. He turns his head fully away from the gallery and whatever captured his mind. He closes his mouth and rolls his shoulders as best he can with cuffed hands, releases the held breath, and looks into the middle distance, bringing his mind back under his direct control. When Cowley turns around, he gives a sideways glance, then pushes his tongue out and sucks his bottom lip in his mouth. Cowley is settling into his worry. Conor is cultivating a fortitude. Fair enough. After all, Conor believes he holds his fate in his own hands. Cowley knows he's just along for the ride.
Who do you represent?
Jim Walden, Moncton, Herring, 1 Battery Park Plaza with Mark Armis for Mr. McGregor.
Conor repeats this mouth gesture throughout the proceedings. He runs his tongue along the front of his teeth behind a closed mouth, then pushes it out. He presses his lips and acknowledges the situation with a grimace.
And as the docket ending 1-3, people are serving 1.
Again, pushing his tongue around the front of his mouth, sucking at his teeth, then a slight lick and lip press. He does the gesture, then looks around, takes in his surroundings in an almost animal-like way. The mouth gesture shows Conor's distaste. There's a forced self-restraint here, and Conor finds it repellent. He's enduring this situation, biding time, forced to be circumspect when he desires action.
Loading dock. As the defendant McGregor, Judge, he is captured on video surveillance picking up a chair and throwing it into a passenger window of that bus.
As the charges are read, McGregor gives a strong reaction, first pressing his lips together to create a soothing effect and maintain calm. He sticks his tongue against the inside of his cheek. You know, tongue-in-cheek, a farcical joke or situation. Conor bites the inside of his mouth, as if to chew the situation into something he can digest. Earlier, we saw distaste from Conor, like something he would like to spit out of his mouth. Now we're seeing a sardonic contempt. It's not that Conor believes he's above consequences in general. It's that he normally puts himself in a position where consequences are unlikely, or he knows the path to absolution. More than anything, it's the verbal strictures that fire the furnace of Conor's discontent. He can't speak for himself. This is just a day after the bus melee. McGregor has much left to articulate about that whole situation. McGregor believes that if he showed up on time for the press conference, as was his plan, things turn out very differently. 4 bouts aren't scrapped from the card, and UFC 223 likely has a different main event for the undisputed 155-pound belt. Oh, you thought Conor McGregor showed up to NYC to avenge Artem's honor. Wrong. Conor showed up for one purpose and plan. Being late for the presser meant revising that plan. It could have worked, but things escalated and truly got out of hand once McGregor realized Khabib wouldn't leave the bus. It was the one thing Conor didn't account for. But that's a whole other story. If you want to know why Conor actually flew to New York before UFC 223, let me know in the comments section below or over on the Twitters. And smash that like button a time or two. No need to be so damn stingy with that thing. Sheesh. As McGregor enters the courtroom, he gets bigger. He breathes deep, enlarging his chest, tilts his chin, and walks forward with purpose. The thing to notice, Conor walks in first. That's not how it's done. This shows McGregor's mindset. If it must be done, take it on head first. Also, he understands the importance of an entrance. As the bailiff turns to instruct McGregor where to stand, Conor makes direct eye contact and gives a slight nod of respect. Conor's seeing everything and feels in control. Conor walks in with some swagger, but compared to the Perp walk, it's not a purely defiant performance. Conor continually scans his environment for information.
Any grand jury action?
No, Your Honor, the defense had waived 30-30. We were in plea negotiations, and we've agreed on July 26th for the next court date.
It's a good sign for Team McGregor that Cagney and Lacey were sent in by the DA. You get the gals who smell of cat litter and barren futures when all the state needs is a couple warm bodies. This means the plea negotiations are going well. Conor continues to take everything in.
Both these gentlemen are on bail, correct? All right, bail continued and the orders of protection in effect. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
In conclusion, the judge wishes them a good day. Cowley nods to the judge, the normal reaction. He's happy to be free and the judge seems friendly enough. Conor's head is turned away and his body is still. Conor didn't nod or acknowledge the judge like Cowley and the lawyers did. The lack of a sympathetic response shows Conor isn't emotionally connected to this moment. His life isn't moved by the positive or negative opinions of others, even if they hold influence over him. This is kind of interesting. People exit the courtroom at an orderly pace. Not Conor. He speeds up and turns sideways to pass between guys at the door. It's a small thing, but helps illustrate Conor's resistance to conformity, or having a set place in the world, even in a situation where it might serve his purpose.
I regret my actions that led me here today. I understand the seriousness of this matter, and I'm hopeful that it gets resolved soon. Thank you, everyone.
3 sentences, each starting with a personal pronoun. I regret. I understand. I'm hopeful. His past, present, and future. He makes it personal, placing the focus on himself for responsibility and optimism.
I regret my actions that led me here today. I understand the seriousness of this matter, and I'm hopeful that it gets resolved soon. Thank you, everyone.
Conor makes the statement, not a lawyer or a spokesperson, but he doesn't use the personal approach to leverage emotion. He stands squarely before the media and cameras. He speaks plainly and without flair or charisma, ends with a small bow from the waist and a head nod like a martial artist. And with that, he's off. Conor showed an arrogant defiance in his appearances directly after the bus melee. His body language said, "No quarter needed, and none shall be given." This all-or-nothing posture is mitigated in his most recent appearance. Surprisingly, we've yet to see the characteristic Irish charm and charisma from Conor. It's because he's in battle mode. Putting legal issues behind him isn't the end of a chapter that began when he stormed the bus garage at the Barclays Center. For McGregor, it's just one more battle in a much larger war, whose purpose motivates and underscores everything he's accomplished thus far. Conor McGregor is on a career-long campaign to bend the shape of the world to match the architecture of a reality he holds perfectly in his mind. Well, that's what I see. Moving forward, Team McGregor negotiates a plea deal that puts a bunch of money in the New York State coffers and gives them some use of his celebrity. They'll drop the felony charge. Conor won't do time, and his ability to work in the US and travel won't be impinged. That leaves us with just one remaining question. Remember, this isn't supposed to be easy.
I have decided to rejoin the human race. The human